Oh my goodness, it looks like you're up to something.
I am making an eggshell supplement for the chickens.
An eggshell supplement for the chickens.
Yeah, so chickens need a lot of calcium. I mean, if they're gonna lay up to an egg a day, like this eggshell is almost pure calcium. And so chickens need a lot of calcium supplementation in their diet. So most people do oyster shells or other types of mineral supplementation. But I got the idea the other day, why not just do a little cannibal action and have the chickens eat their own shells? Now, our girls are babies, so these are just pastured eggshells from a local farm. And I looked it up, and a lot of people do this. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do it too. So I have just been saving our eggshells separate from the typical compost for, this is like a week's worth of eggshells for us. We eat a lot of eggs. What I'm going to do is I want to get these eggshells broken up to where they are in teeny tiny pieces. So I want to run them through the food processor. A lot of people will just crush them with like a little mallet or something in a bag, but I like a nice uniform consistency, especially because our girls are so young. We want those small pieces for them. So I want to run these shells through the food processor. But as they are now, they still have some liquid, they still have some membrane. What I want to do is I want to dry these out, and I also want to expose them to some heat.
Are you preheating it?
Yes, right now I'm preheating the oven to 350. So I'm going to put these in the oven at 350 for 20 to 30 minutes just to make sure they're dried out, the membrane is dry, and just gives them a little disinfectant process. Again, not super worried about germs or anything, but just, you know, as a little precaution measure and to help dry these shells out. So right now, I'm just spreading them out in this like deep dish. You could do it on a pan. I'm just spreading them out so that they get nice and uniformly dry before I put them in the oven. I put some parchment paper down just so the eggs don't stick to the dish below, and it's easy cleanup with the parchment paper. So I really suggest doing that before you throw them in the oven. So the oven is at 350. The shells are all nice and spread out and loose and airy so that the air can circulate. Now I'm gonna pop them in the oven. The oven is at 350. I'm gonna put them in here for 20 to 30 minutes. Oh, there's leftover bacon grease in here. That's why it smells so good, Sean. So the eggs are going in for 20 to 30 minutes.
So while we're waiting for the eggs to cook, we thought we would check out the woods to see what kind of damage we got from, was it a hurricane or a tropical storm?
I think it was
Zeta.
Hurricane Zeta.
Zeta. We kind of want to see what happened. Zelda, I don't know. There's been reports of trees falling, and I know when we've driven down the street, there's a lot of flooding going on. So we wanted to kind of check out the backwoods and see what kind of damage we incurred. Well, so far so good. The grove is looking just perfect. See any fallen trees yet, Holly?
Not yet.
All right, now we're getting down into the thicker parts of the woods, and let's see what we can find.
Wow, this creek really filled up.
All right, so we've got some standing water. And it's not even standing so much as there's a little bit of a flow to it. I see a little bit of trickle happening.
Gotta ford the river. It's like the Oregon Trail.
Make sure you don't get tuberculosis. Overall, things don't look so bad back here, but I do see some new fallen trees. That's definitely new.
That one?
Yeah. Same with that. And that. And that. So what would you say, Holly? How's the damage back here?
Not too bad. Nothing too
Definitely fallen trees, right?
Yeah, just some wood for our fire. Now I am a little bit concerned about a couple of these trees out here in the front yard because it looks as though they're covered by English ivy, which looks really pretty, but then you start looking up toward those branches and it really looks like they're choking out the tree. We already had one branch fall before we bought the property, but we're thinking about having someone out here to look at these just because they really look like they're getting choked out and we're not quite sure what we should do.
If one of these were to fall, it would fall right on our house.
Potentially, which would
and
not
these look
be
heavy
good.
enough to where it would just split our house in two, probably.
Okay, so the eggs are done. We're gonna pull them out of the oven. We'll let those cool for a few minutes. The membranes, it looks like, have dried out, which is perfect. That's what we want. So let these cool for a few minutes, and then we will run them through the food processor. So now that these are cool to the touch, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna transfer them all into the food processor, and then I'm just gonna pulse them to where they're at a nice, thin, crumbly consistency. Check it. Probably
Does
a
this
little
look
bit.
appetizing to a chicken is the question.
Yeah, probably want to do it a little bit more. That looks good. Right there. Let's go see what the girls think. So we've got all these shells for the girls, free calcium supplement. Now, I heard a few people talking about, well, if you feed chickens their own eggshells, won't that cause them to pick at their own shells when they're laying? Now, our girls aren't laying. And there's a few different
Too young.
theories. Some people say that if you feed them shells, it will cause them to pick at their own shells. But this is in a completely different form than an eggshell. Like, there's nothing in terms
Doesn't
of
look like an egg.
Yeah,
It's just a little pellet.
there's nothing about the
Just a
shape
little
of this that looks like an eggshell. And other people have another theory, which I tend to agree with, which is the reason that chickens pick at their own eggshells when they're in shell form to begin with is because they're lacking calcium and their innate intelligence tells them, hey, I need more calcium. So the theory is that by feeding them, allowing them to select lots of additional calcium in their diet, they're not going to be seeking that calcium out in the wild and picking at their own shells. But when they start laying, we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, let's go see what they think.
Here they come.
Oh, they are loving it. That's all we got for today. Stay safe out there in the crazy world. Until next time.